Harold, I did make a mistake, and I want to say that mistake. When I called for a soundbite, I was expecting a piece of the enemy from within, from Maria Bartiromo's interview, to be tied to the piece from your town hall, Harris, where you asked the former president about the enemy from within. It just had the piece about the town hall, and just take a listen to what I meant to roll.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
My point was that we asked him the question about that sentence and what he was trying to mean.
You know what? Good for Bret Baier for circling back and admitting that the clip he ran for the vice president to respond to omitted Trump's most damning words about the enemy within. Whether he's lying about it being accidental or not, he did go back to it. But there was more fallout from the last round of appearances that the two candidates made.
Amber Thurman's family have come out on a press call, and they're doing what's called a pre-buttal 2-hour town hall right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah? And I want to
get better ratings, I promise.
First of all, this is Amber Thurman's story that the former president dismissed simply as a ratings contest.
My daughter Amber made me so proud.
She was having complications.
And
tonight we are learning more about the death of Amber Thurman.
The death of Amber Thurman was likely preventable if she'd had access to abortion care in her home state of Georgia.
what happened to her was preventable. My daughter is gone because of what Donald Trump did.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
It's nothing good enough to bring her back. Her life is over.
I've never been a political person. Never. I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she showed me she really cared. I felt her sincerity, and I felt her strength.
We will speak her name, Amber Nicole Thurman.
I felt her compassion. We will never get Amber back, but we can make sure this never happens again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
I guess that town hall full of women felt that it's a good thing that Trump is more concerned about his ratings on Fox than he is about his dedication to overturn Roe and the deaths that come with it. So maybe he won that ratings war against the Thurman's family, but he came up short against Harris's interview on the same network. But it gets much worse. Coming from the campaign, they kept talking about Harris's lack of interviews, which then morphed into complaining about her not doing any adversarial interviews. Remember the excited audience at Trump's women's town hall?
It wasn't just friendly. The audience was stacked with Trump supporters. Now, Fox presented this town hall as just an all-women's town hall, general voters. Never in their press release did they say who was going to be sitting in the audience. But in reality, the room was not only full of Trump supporters, people who are voting for Trump, but also people who are officially part of Republicans' women's organization. In fact, the first person who asked a question, she presented herself as Lisa from Milton, Georgia. She's actually Lisa, president of the Fulton County Republican Women's Group. So she is essentially almost a Republican official. There was also, we saw people come up, wearing Trump pins. There was somebody who had an RNC delegate hat. But I think the most egregious thing that happened in this town hall was that in one of the questions by a woman named Alicia, in the middle of her question, she said the following: "I voted for you this morning. I hope they counted it," something along those lines. But Fox edited out those handful of words in her question. So in the broadcast, when all you saw was her asking a question. She did make a joke about how the opposition probably sees the room being full of domestic terrorists. But those handful of words in the middle of the question that took maybe all of, 5 seconds to say, those were selectively edited out. Why did Fox News do that? We asked them. They have not said anything back.
Why does the Trump camp feel that they need to stack the women's town hall full of Trump surrogates? Because the worst part is they can have a diehard Trump audience, but the fact that they didn't say so or include any of the comments to reveal that shows that they wanted to pose this as something that it wasn't.
The reason we actually know that this happened is because CNN has an embed, Kate Sullivan, who travels with Trump, and she was there listening to this event live. She recorded it live. And that's where we are able to see the contrast between what was edited out and what was kept in. Now, it's not a problem necessarily to have a town hall with a bunch of Trump supporters or Republicans. That's fine.
Sure.
The issue is that Fox never disclosed this, not in their press release announcing the town hall. Harris Faulkner never said it on air. And anybody who got up and asked a question, they never said, I'm president of this Republican group. Contrast that with the Univision town hall, where they did say, I'm a registered Republican, I'm a registered this, I voted for you in the past. That's the difference, and that's why that disclosure matters, because a regular voter is watching saying, oh, these women, they're just a bunch of regular voters out there. They were not just regular voters.
That extra nugget of information might be why there wasn't a standard letter written about CNN having a debilitating case of Trump derangement syndrome, which Trump likes to release anytime his lies are uncovered. And what's even sadder is that they pulled another fake case of authenticity when he answered questions at a barbershop in the Bronx with Fox's Lawrence Jones.
5-year-old son that's in public school right now. I have a lot of people asking me questions as far as the failing school systems that we have here in the Bronx. They're failing. What are we going to do to improve that in our school system?
Well, we're moving them back from Washington, where you have people that don't care about New York, frankly. In Washington, I don't know if you ever noticed that, you got Department of Education. You got half the buildings in Department of Education.
I'm no barber, but I feel like he already cut that spot on that guy's head. But then again, I guess being an extra in this made-for-TV scene isn't worth it unless he commits to the role. But I do have to give it to Trump. At least he showed up to this barbershop photo op instead of the way he hung Byron Donalds out to dry at the one in Atlanta.
But since this has happened, like the mugshot is the best. It just beat Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra by a lot, by the way. Beat him by a lot. But that's the number one mugshot of all time. It's really an amazing thing. Since it happened, the support among the black community and the Hispanic community has skyrocketed.
Have you seen a transition from your customers and your employees from being quiet about what their support or lack of support about Trump or dislike of Trump to now? Has it changed? Has it shifted? Good question.
Politics is not really a main topic, but it has its time where we do talk about it when it's on CNN and, everybody's give their opinion about, what's going on. And
I still can't believe his pitch to black and brown folks is that since he caught about 26, 27 cases, that they suddenly have a lot in common with him. How does anyone that's not a wealthy donor actually listen to him and think that he gives a damn about them and what they stand for? But let's get back to Trump's town hall, where despite packing the crowd, he still wasn't able to come off not looking like he's out of touch.
What were you offended by? Let's hear it.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you asked. I was offended by him calling himself the father of IVF and then saying that Senator Katie Britt is young and fantastically attractive, as if that's relevant at all to her concerns about her friends who have used fertility treatments in order to become pregnant. I was offended by the fact that he was asked by a voter, why is the government involved in women's basic rights? And he answered with saying, I think it's great. For 52 years, all the legal scholars, the best legal scholars, Democrats, Republicans, both of them, have wanted to get rid of it. And that's what I've done here. That is not at all how the legal scholars feel or how the American populace feels. And to the questions about lowering the prices of things, again, no real answer. I'm glad I know more about how donuts are made or whatever was going on there. But I don't think anyone walked away from that thinking that he had any sort of empathy for what's going on in women's lives all over the country. I mean, he kicked it off actually by kind of laughing at the Amber Thurman story. There was, Harris brought up that the family had put out a prebuttal, and he laughs and he says, we're gonna have higher ratings, which seems pretty cruel. You could use that moment to say, I am so sorry that that young woman, a mother of a 6-year-old boy, lost her life.
Kamala Harris and her camp probably weighed their options over whether or not it's helpful to go on Fox News, knowing that no matter what, it could be deemed a disaster by her opponents. And the same goes for Trump and his appearances. It's just telling that even with the effort put into making it as smooth sailing as possible, the former president didn't really seem to make himself look good either.
I believe that's what this is about.
Oh, I want to talk about IVF. I'm the father.
You don't
I'm the
hear that
father
every day.
I'm the father of IVF, so I want to hear this question.
Yeah. Hi, President Trump.
Hi.
Welcome back to Georgia. We are so happy that you're here. We're all very blessed to be here with you, and thank you for taking
Thank
our
you very
questions. So I'm the mother of 3 small children, and I have many friends that have struggled with fertility issues
Right.
over the years while trying to grow their families. And while they're pro-life, they're very concerned that the abortion bans will affect their ability to access IVF and other fertility treatments. So although abortion does lie with the states, what is your stance on that, and what would you say to those women?
So I got a call from Katie Britt, a young, just a fantastically attractive person from Alabama. She's a senator.
I mean, it just gets more unbelievable sometimes. And now the man calls himself the father of IVF. I mean, what does that even mean? And in all of that, well, he is the one who, by the way, is responsible for it being at risk in the first place. And what is sadly interesting, I think, is that when you listen to Donald Trump talk, it becomes increasingly clear, I think, he has no idea what he's talking about when it comes to the health care of women in America.
I didn't even know they were going, it's fertilization. I didn't know they were even involved in it. Nobody talks about it. They don't talk about it. But now that they can't do it, she said, I was attacked in a certain way. I was attacked. And I said, explain IVF very quickly. And within about 2 minutes, I understood it. I said, no, we're totally in favor of IVF.